Philadelphia Eagles and what's to come here with the free agency starting next week. Yesterday, John, it was put out that the Vikings and Jonathan Greenard might part ways, and they could be seeking a trade partner. Now, I'm not going to immediately tie him to the Eagles, but my question for you is, how much are we not talking about the potential for one of those outside moves to happen? Like, I think when we think about edge and tight end, we look at draft and we look at free agents that are upcoming. But the trade market, exists obviously in a big way, and Howie's been pretty successful at doing it. Greenard just reminded me, hey man, there's a lot of different ways to get players. It's not just free agency and the draft. How much of that do you think is relevant for the Eagles, and how much of that do you think they could be a player in this offseason in the trade market, whether it be at edge, at Phillips walks, whether it be at tight end, whether it be wherever, insert name here?
Yeah, very, very. I mean, it's easier to do it just the conventional way, but Howie's done it in multiple ways and uses every avenue possible. So we talked about it with Crosby. We talked about it with Michael Mayer. We never stopped talking about it. I see Michael Mayer at tight end. Right. Wide receiver, if they move AJ, that's a trade out. You might have a trade in somewhere, if they can find somebody elsewhere. With Greenard, great player. I mean, he to me, he'd be a home run acquisition at his current contract. But the reason they're thinking about trading him is because they have cap space issues and he wants more money. So he's not coming in for $19 million. If he's coming in for $19 million, yeah, by all means,
that's
give up the second round pick and be done with it. But it's not going to happen. You're going to have to work out a new deal. So it's a little bit more complicated than maybe on paper. But I mean, all we've been talking about is Max Crosby. Max Crosby this, Max Crosby that.
Yeah, I feel like he's the obvious name,
Yeah.
So, Greenard just I like hearing the name. It's like, oh, good player, and if he's available, I wonder who else. Sometimes it's hard to gauge, obviously, because teams aren't always open about who's available. But, you talk about it all the time, man. It's a business. People will move. Teams will move players. So you think Greenard is a fit at all or an option for them?
Yeah. I think he's a great player. But, again, wherever he's going, if he is going, wherever he's going, he's getting a raise. So you're going to have
Tanner McKee in a fourth for you, Minnesota. What do you think?
I think they prefer the two, which I would give up the two for him. He's very good player. But yeah, again, you're going to have to redo the contract and get him up to 25. The same range as Jalen Phillips. So, they want Jalen Phillips back. All the stuff will open up if they don't get Jalen Phillips back. A little bit different style. Is he a better fit for the Eagles than Jalen Phillips? I would say no. I mean, everybody saw Jalen. Boy, for whatever reason, it's so weird to me. I guess it's just the sack numbers. Like watch the final eight games, whatever it was. Watch his impact on that defense. Listen to Vic talk about his impact on that defense because I asked him about it on the record. Dude was awesome.
So that's how Vic sees it. But do you think Howie cares about the sack numbers and stuff?
No, I don't. I think he cares about getting good players. I think, And by the way, interesting.
Whether right or wrong, I think that's what people go to, because you're talking about a big contract. So it's not, if you're talking about $18 million or whatever, all right, you can live with maybe lesser sack numbers. But when you get to that $25 million range that we've discussed with Jalen Phillips, I think that's where the expectation changes to not only being a great every down player, but also finishing and getting to the quarterback and making.
Well, I do. And there's certain guys, and Trey Hendrickson is now going to be unrestricted. The Bengals didn't tag him. And, there are guys who are closers. Ironically, because we're talking about Greenard, he had a bad season from a sack standpoint.
Yeah, he did.
But his pressure numbers were better than ever. So, and then he got hurt and he missed, I don't know, for a final month or so. But that was more of, they weren't in the playoff hunt and they shut him down. I don't think it was serious. So I'm not concerned about the injury. But his pressure numbers were never better. So nobody looks at him and says, well, he's down because he's been a 12 sack guy and he got 3 or 4, whatever he got. Because sometimes it is just circumstance. Now there are certain guys, and Max is one of them. Trey Hendrickson's one of them. Obviously, Miles and Micah. That they're going to be consistent. They're always going to get home, and there's something to that. But I think there's even levels like I don't compare Trey Hendrickson and Max Crosby with Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett. I don't think they're in the same category. They don't impact the game as much. They're very good pass rushers. And what concerns me about Max Crosby and why I'm not even near Max Crosby if I'm the Eagles, simply because the guy has played so much football. I saw a stat, and I meant to double check it, but I believe it, so I'm going to throw it out there. And if it's wrong, I'll correct it because I have to look. He's played 600 more snaps than the number 2 guy over the past 4 or 5 years. He never leaves the field. I've been talking about it for years. He never leaves.
You bring that up with Bond too, where you're like, his age is his age, but his playing age is a lot less. He hasn't played that much football. Yeah, it's the opposite with Max.
Opposite. I'm not going there. I'm just not. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad player, but he's not in the same category as Micah Parsons or Myles Garrett. It's not even I don't like that comparison at all. And what he played, I saw him last year with Jalen Carter. I mean, the guy played 1,000 snaps more than anybody else. And the next year he comes back and he's not the same guy.
Right.
And he's 23, 24 years old.
Yep.
I would stay unless you're going to get real disciplined, which Vic has, one of the few things you can criticize him for. He's not being disciplined with Jalen Carter's snap counts, so I don't think he'll be disciplined with Max Crosby snap counts. So yeah, I would go in a different direction. But if you're trading for somebody like Greenard, you got to give up a 2nd-round pick and you got to give him a new contract. So it's not as easy. I just signed Jalen Phillips.
We'll see what they end up doing. Free agency about a week away, everybody. Monday is the legal negotiating period, which kicks off. Wednesday is free agency, a week out from today. John, I think the legal negotiating period kicks off Monday at noon, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's noon, right?